Hello, welcome to episode 8 of the Sing When You're Winning, a fantasy football league oddity podcast featuring distant cousins of podcast royalty and a very special guest this week who we will reveal very shortly. But waiting in line for the podcast throne again this week are myself, Jamie, we've got Steve, we've got Lee, and Dan is back. He's been back from
Hey.
France for a while, but we referred to France. He's back from France, so yes, he's been having French bread and frog's legs and all that stuff. Yeah.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, oui.
Well,
That's
wasn't it a
all.
three-match ban from swearing?
Yeah. And news just in: Adam Devlin has got a season ban for swearing. So he'll be back next year. But yeah, I thought we could all introduce ourselves this week, and as this weekend is the biggest derby game of the season. Yes, I'm talking the Weirtees derby on Saturday, Middlesbrough against Sunderland. I want everyone to share what's the derby game that they look forward to or dread the most. We'll start with you, Lee.
My name's Lee Cooper, manager of the Angry Dragons. There's, you know what? I don't look forward to any derby, to be honest with you. Especially North London derby after last weekend, being a Tottenham fan. But within my family, it's United and Liverpool, Man United and Liverpool. Everybody's just on edge all the time. It's just like walking on eggshells, particularly as United are so crap as well, and you know they're going to get trounced more than likely. So I'd probably say, United, Liverpool.
Okie doke. And Dan, of all the Yorkshire sides, which one do you like to play the most or hate to play the most?
Well, I don't know if Steve will agree with me, but I think every other team in Yorkshire considers us a derby, and we don't.
Yeah, definitely.
Huddersfield, it's their cup final once a year. They get to have a cup final at home with us, and well, not this season, which is amusing. But both the Sheffields. I mean, God forbid we ever end up with Bradford or Middlesbrough. I mean,
I don't see Borough Leeds as a derby. Some people do, but
Well,
I never do.
it's not really Yorkshire either, is it?
No.
It's just a ridiculous journey. How in the world could you call that a derby? I don't understand. There'll be Borough fans hating me for saying this, but it's not a derby for me.
So no, I don't really go in for derbies. It's all stressful anyway. You don't need to add to it. I've got a load of friends who are Gooners, and they get so invested every time they're playing Spurs, and it's just why? It's weird.
I'm too old for that. Too old to bother with that nonsense.
Yeah, you're right, Lee.
I even avoid Twitter and things like that because people just go off on one. I'm like, just grow up.
Do you have any bants with your dad there, Dan? He's a Huddersfield fan, isn't he?
Weirdly, I play village cricket every Sunday, and we just had our last game on this Sunday gone. Every day, there's a lad, Richard Metcalf, if you're listening, bastard. There we go. That's the first one. He's a Huddersfield fan, and all I hear about is the fact that the only time I've made like the sports pages of the national press was stood next to my old man in the Huddersfield box at Wembley when they got promoted, going, "Way!" Because you have to, because you're there with the directors and everything, and you can't be going. I had to have the tie on, and it was horrible.
Shocking.
I still get so much crap about that from my mates.
I'm going to look for this photo. We need to find this photo.
Yeah, get it out. It's I thought you were a Huddersfield fan, Dan. Every week.
How did that happen anyway? How did you be a Leeds fan and your dad's a Huddersfield?
Well, you know what? This is probably going a little too deep dive psychological history of my childhood, but as a Leeds fan with a Huddersfield fan as a dad growing up in the 70s and 80s, I would say to him, Dad, I don't know, West Ham Leeds or Chelsea Leeds, can we go? And he'd be like, no, we're off to Port Vale to see the town. I have been to some of the worst places in Britain to follow Huddersfield Town, who I didn't even support, but he did. So, yeah, I still get dragged into them. Oh, Town's in the final. Let's go to Wembley. Oh, all right. I've got literally a cupboard full of Huddersfield Town ties that I keep getting given. You've got to put this on. We're in the director's box.
At least you got to Wembley, though. That's good, I guess.
Yeah.
At least they won at Wembley. That's
At least they
new.
were. Yeah, I was going to say that. I was going to follow up with that one.
After 11 penalties.
Yeah.
How about you, Steve? Are you the same as Dan then on the Leeds front?
Yeah, I don't really. I think more you look to playing Man United really than any of the Yorkshire teams. Like Dan said, all the other Yorkshire teams want to beat Leeds because they see Leeds as the big Yorkshire club, if you like.
Yeah.
And then there's plenty of other teams like Derby who like to have a little rivalry with us, or just random teams just like to have a rivalry with Leeds, which is non-existent really, from our end anyway.
Yeah, it's a bit random. But yeah, as a Borough fan, my 18th birthday was ruined by Sunderland. So we played them at home on my 18th birthday, and we lost 1-0. And yeah, I'll still remember the goal and everything. It was just a bit shit.
Never forgiven. Never forget.
Exactly. You turn 18. What did you do? I watched Borough lose at home to Sunderland 1-0. Anyway, things you don't forget. But yes. So it's time to introduce our special guest who's been waiting ever so patiently. So according to IMDb, we're not going down the Wikipedia route this week. Our guest is a producer, writer, and director known for the film Against the Ice and a podcast series called Radio Man, featuring fellow SWYW manager Nikolai Costa-Waldau. So we better up our game this week, lads, because we do have podcast royalty in the house, as it were, with a whopping 19 seasons in FPL, 7 spent in this Sing When You're Winning league. But more importantly, the Sing When You're Winning Cup winner as recently as 2022. Let's welcome Joe Derrick.
Oh,
is that a champion's mug I can see there?
It's the last
oh,
ever one.
Very good, very good. So, Joe, do you want to share your team name? Obviously, we've talked about how long you've been playing fantasy football, but you're a Leeds fan as well, aren't you?
I am. I'm a season ticket holder. Yeah, I'm in the Upper East for my sins. Just talking about the favourite derby. The word derby just makes me. That's probably my lowest point as a Leeds fan was the 12 minutes in 4 games that season that we went behind against them and knocked us out of the semi-final playoffs. And whenever I see their name now, it makes me feel a little bit nauseous.
When have you got them coming up? When do you play them in the league?
Oh, God knows. Stevie,
I've no idea. No. Just wait to find out who the next one is, really.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, we lost to them early this season by giving away the stupidest goal ever. So they're not that good.
Did you see the one they missed at the weekend?
That was a classic, wasn't it?
No, I've not seen that.
The goalkeeper's come to the halfway line. It's on a break from a corner, a bit like a goal we conceded. And the forward has headed it over the goalkeeper. And so now he's clear on goal. So he's got 40 yards to run and tap it. And he gets a bit cocky because he takes his little stroke shot in about 8 yards out and misses the target.
Yeah, I can't believe you've not seen that. It's horrendous. Well, he did go like a steam train to actually win the ball. He did very well to actually get there, but then I don't know what he was doing. He went with his left foot. I think that was the excuse.
What a shame. Well, talking about things that we saw or didn't see last weekend, we're going to do game week 4 review. So anything exciting from the Premier League action last weekend? I know Lee won't want to talk about what happened last weekend, I imagine.
Yes, we'll get to Lee's division shortly. Dan might not want to talk about what happened to him either. But anyway, Ben Shires was the top scorer in the Premier League. He got an 80, which was enough to beat Michelle, who only got a 51. Next best was John Gregory, who's now moving up the table nicely. He beat our very own Chris Payne, who only got a very disappointing 45.
Ooh, that's well.
Steve Taylor got a 73. He beat last week's guest Adam, who got a 62 and might feel a little bit unlucky. Dan sadly lost against me. Although Gabriel did have me sweating a little bit there when he scored late on there, Dan, and got you about 15 points or something, didn't he?
Yeah, but I was seriously let down by Salah. I should say at this point that I have now played my wild card and my free hit
What?
and bottom of the league, I think.
That's
You
impressive
genuinely
form.
played both of those things.
You know what I was actually quite impressed with? So as Steve found out, I ended up relenting and putting Ireland back in. And literally within minutes of locking that in and hitting wildcard, Steve, on the WhatsApp, oh, Haaland's friends died. He's going to a funeral. And I went, of course he is. Of course he is. That's why they're cursed.
Anyway, Faris finally won his first game of the season. He beat Nikolai, which put Nikolai rock bottom.
Ooh.
I've just come off the phone with Nikolai. I told him I'm going to chat to you guys. So he sent a message.
Really?
What did he say?
Is it swearing?
It was very swearing. It was very swearing. He is trying incredibly hard this season. Most of us, he's failing. He's held off on the Haaland train, but I think he's just fallen into it now.
I think he just put him in last week, didn't he?
Put him in last week, but he didn't select him as captain.
Yeah. Nor did I.
Nor me.
I'm not being funny. How can you have him in your side and not select him as captain?
Because they've got Salah. They have Salah, don't they?
Salah was
Salah,
playing Forest. I assumed that was
Obviously,
at least two.
Yeah, true.
Useless. Liverpool.
Well, I went after the Leeds game. I went into to Leeds to a sports bar with Steve, who's in League One, and Finn, my lad, and they both had Salah as captain. And they were both miserable.
That picture looked just.
Whereas every time Haaland popped up on the screen, and I was like, yes, and they were gutted. So anyway, champion Mark is still top of the table. He's got 12 points maximum. Closely followed by Tom Bird, Andrew Chester, Neil Martin, and Chris Duhamel, who all have 9. And at the bottom, as Dan said, joint bottom, 3 points. We've got Rick Witter, Adam Devlin, Faris, Dan, Tom Roberts, and Nikolai, who is officially bottom. He's got a really bad score, actually. He's only got 160 odd, I think.
Really?
Great. Yeah. I mean, it's making you look good, Dan.
Yeah. As long as he get those.
To the championship, he'll be very welcome back.
It's very early days yet. He'll be playing his wild card probably this week. Championship, the highest was Tom Gregory, who's got a 92, which beat you, Jane, who was 65.
Fans are playing him.
Ooh,
Yeah.
92.
Yeah, that was the highest scoring out of everybody in the whole league. So.
And I played him.
God.
Congratulations, Tom.
And at one point there, I think it was the only game you could lose, I think, wasn't it, Jamie?
Yeah, at one point I was second, and I was like, but what are the chances? I had a keeper, the Man United keeper, who saved a penalty, and I thought I'm looking good. And then his keeper saves a bloody penalty and gets even more points. What are the chances of that? Anyway.
But you weren't far off. Joe got a 66, so Joe would have actually beaten you anyway. So Joe got the second highest score in that division.
I played my wild card.
Really? Well, it works, and you beat
Earliest
Rich.
I've ever played it, I think.
Yeah, I think it was for me. I played mine last week as well. I think needs must sometimes, don't you? You need to just get rid of. I had nobody on the bench particularly, and half my defence weren't really playing. Why not do it now? You can save it all back up again now. Anyway, I'm not making any changes this week, so I'll have 2 next week. Stay injury free. I might have 5 in a month.
Yeah, the first person to do the big 5. That's what we're waiting for.
Yeah.
I think, you know me, I said that I think that's impossible. I don't know that you can go 5 games without having to make a sub, because at the very least somebody gets injured or red carded or something.
I did 3 today. I had 3 because I played my wild card, and those 3 have gone.
The lowest scores in that league was Stu with a 31, who lost to Swanee, who got 57, and Phil Pinder, who also got 31, and he lost to Tim, who only got 40, but that was Tim's first win, so a little bit of luck there, but he's got it. And Jonas got a 32, he lost to Ross, and that dumped him rock bottom of that division. Rest of it was quite close. Cole beat Dave, Andrew beat Lee, and Mark Morris drew with Harvey Barnes scoring, getting him a draw against Henry. Table-wise, Tom is still top with full 12 points. Jim slipped to Nick, and Joe is up to 5th place now.
No, well done.
Which is
Well
quite
done.
good for you, Joe. Oh, last season, Nick bottom, weren't you, really, most of the season?
Well, you know, mid-table stroke bottom.
It was your relegation hangover last season, wasn't it? So, bottom was Tim.
Do you know last season was the first?
Oh, Phil, Lee, and Richard all bottom.
What's that, Joe?
Steve, I was going to say last season. My explanation is after doing this for how many seasons? 19 seasons.
7. Well, 7 in ours and 19 apparently in.
I finished 7,000th once in the country, in the world. Anyway,
Wow.
last year was the first season I just didn't watch Match of the Day. I just thought, I can't be asked watching the Premier League anymore. So I stopped watching it, and it really affected my selections.
Do you prefer doing it when Leeds are in it or not in it? I think I prefer Match of the Day definitely when Leeds aren't in it.
Yeah. Coming on last after losing 1-0 to
Bournemouth.
Yeah.
My wife's a Wolves fan, and she convinced that they hate Wolves, so Wolves are always last, whatever happens.
The Wolves fans think that there's some kind of international plot against them. I mean, there's conspiracy theories, and then there's Wolves fans. They're absolutely mental about it.
In League One, Rich Pipes got a 73. He beat Steve Wybrandt with a miserable 42. And like I say, miserable because I was sat with him. Rest of them were all quite close. Gareth, though, got a 63 to beat Tim Bresnan with a 43. Frankie, a 66, beat Stu's 55. And Anton got a 65, which was a first loss for Paul Spencer, who got a 42. Rich and Jamie Hurst are the only two left with 100% wins there, and they are closely followed by Lee, Gareth, Mike, Anton, and Andy Cousins, who all have 9. At the bottom there, our only teams without any points are Stu, Chesney, and Craig, and Nigel has a point. In the Conference League, the top score was Adam Constive, which was his first win as a 72. To beat Joe Singleton with a 46, who still hasn't won, although he's drawn one. Pete Martini beat Indy with 68-58. Casey beat Paul Tomkinson. Duke beat Sophie 55-50, although Sophie did have Sanchez as a spare goalie who got 15 points, so if she'd have picked the other goalkeeper.
Oof.
That's going to hurt.
And I think she actually picked Allison. Allison was her goalkeeper, but Sanchez would have been the better choice. In fact, that's something I noticed about Nikolai's team. Nikolai's got 2 top goalkeepers. I think that's a bit of an error.
Good boy.
Neil Robertson beat Vicky for the first time this season with a 55-54. Grace beat Chris Murray 54-53. And Ben Halliwell and Alfie Witter drew 54 each. And Finn beat Becky Bass, which put her rock bottom, and it was Finn's first win.
Is that after you give him the advice last week that we talked about?
No, well, when you listening back to it last week, and you actually said, "Did you give Finn any advice?" Didn't you? And I thought you just meant you wanted me generally just to tell everybody in the fantasy league some advice.
No.
If I was giving Finn advice, I'd say wash the pots more and keep your bedroom tidy.
Well, it worked. Whatever it was, it worked. He's won his first.
It did, yeah. Only just, yeah. At the bottom there, Joe has 1 point, and Rob Lally, Chris Murray, and Becky Bass are all on nothing still.
Oh, there's quite a few across the league still without a win.
About 6 teams, I think.
Oh, well, will they all win this weekend? We will find out. But yeah, thanks for that, Steve. Looking ahead to game week 5. The most transferred in and most transferred out players, it's getting a little bit. People are quite fickle because last week one of the most transferred in players was João Pedro, and everyone's booting him out this week. So I imagine there's lots of managers who just like buy, sell week in, week out. But most transfers in, more people are going for Haaland. There's another 164,000. So it won't be long before surely everybody's got Haaland in the team. Luis Diaz second, and Watkins. Vardy's appearing fourth as well. People are transferring Vardy in.
That's just Leicester fans, guaranteed. Promise you.
It's a bit of a strange one. But the top transferred out player is Isak. People getting rid of him. Over 250,000 people getting rid of him. So there you go. If that is helpful to you when you are picking your team or transferring. Let's look ahead to the actual Premier League, though. Predictions for 3 games. I'm going to kick off with the biggest game of the weekend after Middlesbrough Sunderland, of course. Man City Arsenal. What do we think? After it's early days, but what do we think? Who's going to come out victorious, or will it be a boring draw?
Yeah, 0-0.
0-0.
Oh,
yeah, not expecting much at all, unless Haaland pulls it out of the bag and grabs another hat trick or something. But no, just can't see anything interesting happening. To be honest with you,
yeah,
I don't know. I've got a feeling they both get scored against. So I'd be surprised if it's 0-0, to be honest.
Well, I'd quite like Phil Foden to be finally unleashed and him score 2 or 3. That would be fine, because I've had him in my team all season. He's done nothing for me. So
He's done nothing.
sticking with him.
Yeah. How about you, Joe? Any thoughts on Man City Arsenal?
I think 0-0 is a good shout. It's a hard watch, I think, and they're both going to start off not wanting to lose, aren't they? And it's just gonna be
Yeah.
Unless we get one of the cheeky refs who get involved like they did this weekend. You know, a lot of the refs seem to take, centre stage, didn't they, with the yellow cards? And if they do that in that game, that might liven it up a bit.
Yeah, it could get interesting. I thought the Arsenal Spurs game was just boring, like genuinely boring, and
Bloody awful.
Yeah, it wasn't a fun watch, and I half think that's what Man City Arsenal will be. But Haaland will probably still score a hat trick, so I'm not going to not have him in my team as captain. I think it's not worth the risk at the moment. Moving on to the other end of the table, Leicester Everton. What do we think? I've purposely picked some teams that are in dire need of a win. Any thoughts? Do we think Everton are finally going to hold on to a lead, or do we think Leicester will?
The calamitous, aren't they, Everton? They're just absolutely bonkers. They just.
Yeah. We all want them to go 2-0 up, don't we?
Yeah. And
lose
again. That was those 4 minutes or whatever it was in extra injury time, whatever they call it these days, was some of the funniest football I've seen in a very long time.
It needed like a Benny Hill soundtrack behind it.
That's the best time to watch Match of the Day, because you can listen to the commentary knowing what's coming.
Yeah, definitely. And you just look at the disappointment in their fans' faces. So do we think Leicester will do it then, or do we think Everton might get their first win?
Again, probably a draw. One apiece.
We'll go 1-1. Okay. I fancy Leicester to do them at home, to be fair. All these people signing Vardy, it's got to come good at some point, surely. And then the other, probably the dullest game in the division at the weekend, Southampton v Ipswich.
Oh.
I mean, imagine if you got such a
classic.
Well, I think Ipswich will win that 2-0.
Yeah.
It will make me really happy if Southampton just do an at Sheffield and just come straight back down, having basically 1-0. That'll be really amusing.
Yeah, with a record low points tally, that'll be fine.
Yeah,
keep Derby fans happy that if they do that.
Have Ipswich had back-to-back clean sheets?
I don't know.
If we were a better podcast, Joe, we'd have researched this and we'd have all these stats.
Lee Davis got me 6 points last weekend.
He's testing us.
He is testing us. Let me quickly fly through the app and look at the Premier League results. So Ipswich, 0-0 Brighton last weekend, and 1-1 against Fulham.
Yeah, so they're shutting up shop, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think Delap looks quite good up front, actually. I think
everyone thought they'd be free flying and getting battered 6-0 every week, but he's obviously he's showing he can do a different thing.
Well, everyone thought they'd flop last season as well, but that didn't work out for us either. So.
Yeah, unfortunately. But yes, so let's look ahead to see Southampton against Ipswich being last on Match of the Day. this coming weekend.
That's definitely last.
That is definitely last. Watch it be a 5-5 thriller or something like that.
Again, they'd both be happy with 0-0, wouldn't they?
They would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's getting boring down there in the Premier League. We need some team to shake it up down the bottom. But the Championship is the best league, as we all know. Apart from Lee, doesn't know what it's like to be in the Championship with Spurs.
Well, being a Spurs fan's got its own rod, hasn't it? It's bad enough anyway.
Well, that is true. That is true. But let's move swiftly on. Let's find out a little bit more about our manager of the week, Joe Derrick. So, Joe, why Leeds? I know you've kind of explained a little bit around that, but why did you start supporting Leeds in the first place?
Went to school in Doncaster, and Billy Bremner was manager of Donny at the time, and then my sister was a Leeds fan, my older sister, and she took me to an open day. They used to have these open days, and you could get on the pitch and meet players and stuff. And they'd never let you do it now, would they? And it was 1979, I think. I know it was Jimmy Adamson was the manager because I got his autograph, and Terry Connor, I got his autograph, and Brian Flynn and Arthur Graham, I think, and I was just sort of hooked from there. You know the old thing when you walk up the steps and you see the pitch, and the fact you could go on the pitch, sold me. And Donny Rovers was in a right state at the time as well, so it wasn't much comparison.
No.
And then I suppose as I was growing up, it was fun in the 80s because it was a sort of place that was, it was like legally drinking or something. It was dangerous to go to. Your parents didn't want you to go to have all the teams in all the country to go to Leeds in the 80s. It was like a no. And then the 90s were great, weren't they? And we had our league championship with the last English manager to win the top title, which is still amazing that no English managers ever won the Premier League.
Yeah.
Incredible. And then read the George Graham moment, which was the most boring season probably of all. And then it just went crazy again, didn't it? We had a great Champions League, and then it all fell apart. And then Bielsa was just, I don't know whether you have to go through all this pain to enjoy probably like a Tottenham fan, to enjoy the highs, that we've just had with Bielsa. And then you sort of know at the end of Bielsa, don't you? That's it now for 10 years.
Yeah.
Just sort of try and enjoy it. You just go in and meeting the guys who sit around you and have a day out. And you can't give it up once you've started, can you?
No. You're right though. It comes in waves. I think you get kind of any team I think gets that purple patch or whatever where they just go through a couple of seasons or a season or two where there's something to hold on to, and then you go through years of absolute crap. You just think, what am I doing this for?
Yeah.
And then you get surprised. It might be a cup run or whatever, but it's happens to every team, I think. So we've asked each panel member to have a question prepared to ask you, Joe. But I'm going to kick things off. How good was it to have an album that knocked Oasis off the top of the charts back in the 1990s?
It was amazing. It became a complete shock to me at the time.
Great
And
time.
now.
Yeah. Our managers couldn't believe it either. They just sent us a crate of Budweiser, I think it was, and we celebrated. Got us on some Keith Chegwin show, I think it was, where he was naked. I don't know, I can't remember. And then it all went back to normal again, didn't it? It just
What a week though, eh? Sounds like you had a blast. Sounds like you had a blast. Who's got a question for Joe? Who's done the homework?
I've done my homework again. So
Good. Thanks, Lee.
So I want to talk about podcasts. So the Radio Man podcast was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. I didn't realise it was based on a true story until like near the end, when I actually read the synopsis. But as a writer, how difficult is it to write a podcast? Because you've not got obviously the visuals and everything. It's literally just a load of actors talking. So how difficult is it to do compared to writing a film or a book or anything like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. When I do writing, I like to go for walks and get your ideas. And I listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of drama. I used to listen to a lot of drama podcasts, and they used to frustrate the hell out of me that it was sort of you'd hear some footsteps, and then you'd hear a little bell on the door, and go, "Hello, Mrs. Jones, the divorcee from down the lane. How are you today? Do you want your usual 6 eggs?" And and I was sitting there going, "Oh, they've got to do better than this. There's got to be." And then I met, I listened to a couple of podcasts that was done by the sound was done by Ben, a sound designer called Ben Brick, who won a Peabody Award for his Have You Heard George's podcast? And so I had this idea, and I spoke to Nicola. We had this idea when we were talking about it, that we could do this as a drama, a radio drama. We were going to do it try to do it for TV or whatever. First of all, let's have a go at doing this, and let's get this guy in, and he paints pictures. The sounds. I mean, if you've listened to it, you'll know this whole immersive thing and the music and everything. So we just contacted him and said, I would love your work, blah, blah, blah. Would you like to do it? And he was excited, and we got together. And when I was writing it was totally freeing then to know that if I wanted to have somebody hanging from a beam or something, just hung himself, he would put the sort of equivalent of the camera in the beam, above the rope, and you could get that sound, and you could do anything basically with sound. And and everyone's got amazing headphones these days. Everyone's got great sound, better than it's amazing what we've got on our ears. Why not use that fully to the full extent? And so it was actually freeing, knowing that I had this sound guy that could do this. Everyone had the headphones, audible. I knew it was going to be on the biggest platform so it was actually, it felt easier, if that makes sense, to write, knowing that, and it would have been difficult otherwise, because I would have felt limited all the time. So there was one scene in it, for example, where I wanted the guy to be playing a video game. So one of my characters to be playing a video game, talking on his headphones to his mate. A young lad like up in the bedroom. All our sons probably do. And knowing that he would go to the length of recreating that video game section, of actual Call of Duty, and recreate all the sounds of the grenade pins and everything. It was an amazing experience, to be honest. And putting it together afterwards was real fun. And then working a lot with he was great at music. I wanted strong music, and so getting really young sort of British unknowns of artists or some known artists to contribute, and that was great. And they enjoyed being part of it as well, I think. And it was great fun.
The theme tune was brilliant as well. The theme tune, also sort of like humming it along, and really, really good.
Yeah. He's a very clever guy, Ben Brick. I highly recommend you check out his work. Anything he's involved with is very high quality.
Well, thank you. Oh, one more question. Do you think McDonald's should bring back the McRib?
Well, I know there's the yes.
It's going to happen, Lee. One of these days, you're going to be a happy man. Joe, do you think our podcast is missing anything?
Because I watched last week's, and it was tremendous quality throughout. But there was something missing. I couldn't put my finger on it, and then I realised you haven't got a theme tune. You've got 3 leagues, is it? 4 leagues? How many leagues?
4, yeah.
4 leagues now, bristling full of musical talent, and we haven't got a theme tune.
Yeah, I think we need to sort that out.
90s jangly, sing when you're winning.
Yeah, we just need somebody to do the. I mean, I'll be greedy. I'd like an intro and an outro, please. But let's have a competition. Let's have a competition amongst the musicians in the league to see what they can come up with.
Musicians, perhaps.
Need to do it. Steve, have you got a question?
Firstly, I'd say, what is the sound for the divorcee down the road that wants some eggs?
I'll send that later on.
As ever, I've not really prepared a question, but I'll go with, because you're well-travelled, Joe, you're always in various parts of the world and stuff. What's the weirdest place you've done your dream team fantasy league side in?
Oh, that's a good question. I've missed lots of deadlines, because when you're obviously abroad, the timings, it's a nightmare, isn't it? And I've done a wild card before on the wrong week, where you thought you were still within the time, and I realized I found
Yeah.
afterwards that was heartbreaking. Where have I done it? Oh, I did it at River Plate Stadium once.
Really?
Amazing.
Yeah, once at River, only because somebody had suddenly told me that it was Frank Lampard or someone was out, and I was like panicking, and I was like trying to get on the Wi-Fi at River Plate. It's worse than Leeds United, believe it or not. So I've done it there. Yeah, that's
Very good.
River Plate.
Good stuff. And Dan, I know you never do your homework, but have you thought of a question on the fly?
It's been a lifelong issue. Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to be in the cheese wedge for Tony Yeboah's goal against Liverpool. What is your favourite Leeds United moment?
I know this. I know this now because, and it's such a recent one for me. I don't know why, but it's the Ayling moment against Huddersfield because I was with my daughter, and we'd all gone, talking about this virus, and people were like doing the old elbows as you went in. And I remember saying that the manager had said the players can't celebrate by touching each other, and there was all this fear, and I was very aware, that some people I knew had got ill already by it, so I was umming and ahhing where they're going. I decided to go, and went with my daughter. And when Ayling scored this volley, it was about in the first 6 minutes or 10 minutes or something. The ball came across, it was our end, and he volleyed it, and it was an amazing volley. And I can remember me and my daughters jumping up, and just like it felt like we screamed for 10 minutes, just like made a noise, and everyone piled on, the players piled on, and the subs came on and did a pile on, didn't they? Because he went to try and do his, and then obviously it was a great moment anyway. But then what followed it, for that to be your last moment of football, like, you thought maybe you'd never go again to a match again, and that's why. And I love that moment, and even more so now because it was Bielsa at peak, wasn't it?
It was.
And we're now benefiting from having Ayling in our side because he's awesome.
Assists and everything, did he?
Did you see the goal we scored at the weekend? Was just he made it, cracking through ball, and I'm genuinely surprised that you gave him up. To be fair, but
I also don't think we've got better than what he is.
No.
But yeah, he's proven so far a very, very good signing for us, and long may that continue. Shall we play Sing When You're Winning Superfan? Are you a Superfan? Joe, would you say in general?
Of what?
Of football in general. This is be general football.
No, not really. No.
Not really. Well, we'll find. I mean, you don't have a lot to beat. So far, each week we're going to test our guests' footballing knowledge and see how many questions you can get correct in 90 seconds. And we ignored the feedback that we got from Adam last week. We're
great feedback, actually.
We're sticking with the 90 seconds. The current tally: Alistair got 3, Adam got 4. So it's 4 to beat.
Okay.
So, Steve, are you happy to be the official timer as ever?
Yes.
Good. And Dan or Lee, who wants to have your fingers in the air and be doing the scores this week?
I'll keep score then.
You keep score. Good. Yep. Right. So these are a mix of questions from Premier League, World Cup, all sorts of kind of stuff. So the timer will start when I start, and you'll have 90 seconds. And after 90 seconds, Steve will shout sheep or shape or something like that.
It's not sheep. Shape.
I know. I gathered that. Sound like sheep to me. We'll move swiftly on. So, starting first question. Which player with 653 games has made the most Premier League appearances?
Gareth Barry?
Yes. When was the inaugural Premier League season? Sorry, when was the first Premier League season?
91.
92, 93.
92, 93, yeah. Dan, you can't shout out, but yes.
Well, are these? Wait, I thought we were all answering. No one's played the rules today.
It's included in my 90 seconds.
Yeah,
it is.
It's good. How many clubs competed in the first Premier League season?
18.
22, believe it or not. There have been 2 World Cup trophies. What was the name of the first?
Jules Rimet.
Yes. The record number of World Cup goals is 16, scored by who?
Gerd Muller.
Miroslav Klose. Messi has spent his entire professional career at Barcelona, but what was his schoolboy team?
In Argentina, Rosario, was it? Newell's Old Boys.
Yes, well done. You're rolling here. Which club has won the most Champions League titles and how many?
Is it Madrid 12?
Madrid 13, but you get a point for Madrid. What was the name of the European Championship trophy? It's a random question.
Henry something? Henri. I can't remember. Henri something.
Henri, it is Henri Delaney Trophy. True or false? Singer in Irish boy band Westlife, Nicky Byrne played for Leeds United.
Leeds United, yeah, was a youth team goalkeeper.
True, yeah. I mean, that's more information than I knew, but it is true. So that is it. So how many did you get? 6. Wow. But I think you're gonna.
I mean, he might have had extra time there.
He might have done. But to be fair, Dan did dive in at one point, and
I did. I thought it was a free for all.
And tried to give me a wrong answer.
Wrong answer as well. Yeah, put you off.
That can be your only peak, and you have to mess up one question each week. That could be the thing.
The game's changed in your 3-match ban, Dan.
Yeah. I don't think we were playing the game when Dan.
It wasn't. No one's even explained it to me.
Yeah, evidently. But thank you for keeping score. That was very good. So well done, Joe. As I said, I think you could be top for a while. You don't get anything unless the sponsors want to jump in and give us something for the end of the season for the Superfan. But hey, we can deal with that offline. Should we have an update on Bletchley Scott?
Sure.
Oh yes.
Well, last time out, those who remember, sadly, Bletchley Scott lost their opening game 6-1. But I've got news for you. They played not 1, but 2 games in the last week. And how do we think Bletchley Scott got on? It was exactly the same score, exactly the same result in both matches. Do we think they won, lost, or drew both those games?
Drew 6-1.
Drew.
I reckon they would have taken a right hammering from the coach, wouldn't they?
I think they got a hammering after losing 6-1. So what do we think? Win, lose, or draw for both those games?
They win.
Win them both.
Winning both, you think?
I think they've shut up shop and lost 2-0 both.
You've lost 2-0 both. Dan, do you care?
I'm so confused. I don't even know what day it is anymore.
It's Friday morning, Dan. Remember, it's Friday morning.
Friday, great.
Unless it's tech issues and it's Friday.
I've missed so much.
The sun's about to come up by the looks of things.
It is, yeah. I'm looking out the window. I'll be turning this light up in a bit. But yes, they both games ended in a Desmond 2-2. So well done to Bletchley Scott. They pulled back from 6-1 to draw 2-2 in both of their games.
2-2, Dan. It was Desmond 2-2.
2-2.
Yeah, but where's the 6-1 coming from?
That was their first game. Dan, but after this, go away and watch last week's episode with Adam Devlin.
That's why I was like, win, lose, or draw 6-1.
It was a cracking 6-1 draw.
It was a cracking 6-1. Well, they drew 2-2. So they've now got 2 points. And
should I just go back to France at this point?
I think well done to Bletchley Scott anyway.
Thanks, Lee.
I think that is I think that's good to come back from a defeat and have 2-2. Very good stuff. And let's have a look at the tables. I can check this live, see where they're at. And they're up to 5th now.
Ooh.
How many's in the division? 6.
There's 11.
Oh,
So
11.
they're doing all right. There's a couple of teams on 0 points. There's 2 teams at the top. Linslade Galaxy Ajax and MK Wanderers Eagles are both on 9 points.
Wait a sec. What was the first team again?
Linslade Galaxy Ajax.
That's amazing. That's an amazing name for a Midlands team.
Yeah. We'll
Great.
sponsor them next season.
Yeah, Galaxy and Ajax.
Yeah.
They should just get in I don't know, Spartak in there as well.
I think they just got loads of Scrabble letters and went, right, what can we make out of these?
It is a bit bizarre. But yes, the next game for Bletchley Scott is they've got a cup game against Leighton Woodside from a different league, I think. So that'll be, we shall find out how they get on next week's pod. But I'm looking forward to get my Bletchley Scott top. So I've ordered it, and that should be coming through soon. So I'll be dropping this Jamaican number for the Wolves like Bletchley Scott. So look forward to that. And thanks as ever to our sponsors, The Terrace. Carl sponsors
Cheers,
us,
Carl.
and he also sponsors. Well, we all sponsor Bletchley Scott, don't we? Very good. So let's play Shooting Stars. I'm conscious this Friday morning we're all looking forward to some Champions League football, so we want to wrap up quite soon. But yeah, this week's Shooting Star profile is we're going to go international. We're going to go Dino Zoff.
Oh,
So yes, believe it or not, Dino Zoff did one of the match profiles. So let's find out about Dino Zoff from Italy. What was Dino Zoff's favourite food? And Joe, feel free to jump in here as well.
Wasn't the McRib, was it?
I wish it was
McRibio.
Ribio, yeah.
It's got to be pizza.
Lasagna.
It can't be pizza or lasagna.
spaghetti carbonara.
Oh,
It's a risotto bolognese, rice cooked the Bologna way. Is what he said.
Yeah.
That's what he prefers.
Oh, that's interesting.
Nice.
That's what he likes. What does he dislike? It's quite interesting what he dislikes.
McRibs.
Fish and chips.
Possibly. He dislikes conceit, lies, and rudeness.
Oh, good man. Good man.
It's quite specific on his
Man of honor.
there.
There's some history behind those, I think.
Definitely think there is. It's quite specific. What car does Dino Zoff drive, or what did he drive back then?
Fiat Uno.
Cinquecento.
I'm not going to say Ford Capri. They might have had them in Italy, will they?
It's always a Ford Capri. I'm going Ferrari because he's Dino Zoff.
It was a blue Fiat 132. So well done, Joe. You were on the Fiat there. Great stuff. So Dino Zoff, the final question, because he's quite straight talking, is Dino. But what's his biggest drag in soccer? That was the question they asked him. Football.
Match fixing.
Well, I mean, it can be interpreted how you like it. He said cheats.
Oh, well.
Steve in with the win.
So there you go.
Dino knew.
So yeah, but yeah, quite specific. No messing about with Dino, and yeah, conceit, lies, and rudeness. It'd be a good title for an autobiography or something like that.
Yeah.
Be quite good stuff.
An FPL podcast.
Even, yeah. Let's change the title for next week. I mean, I don't think we have much conceit. There's the occasional like not quite lie, and there's lots of rudeness. Let's be honest. So,
Confusion.
Confusion, yeah. Is this confusion? Am I confusing you? Indeed. So I think it's time for us to wrap up, just in time for Friday morning Champions League live football. I think, guys. I think that would make sense. So a huge thank you, Joe, for joining us this week. Good luck in the rest of the season. And yeah, do you think you might get promoted this season? Is that what you're after?
No. I'm definitely trying to stay in the middle somewhere. Just
Stay in the middle.
Championship's where it's at, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, in reality and fantasy.
It's cool.
it is.
It is
Fun at both ends.
I just want to edit that. Fun at both ends.
Which has his camera off.
That's the title for this week's pod, people. Fun at both
One at both ends.
Thank you very much, Steve. But a huge thank you to Dan, Lee, and Steve once again. You can follow us on Twitter at SWYW_FPL. Someone one week is going to leave us a comment on YouTube to ask us a question. Even if the comment is "this is shit," we're welcome. Like, feel free to share something with us, and we might even discuss it in next week's show, where we'll be joined by another top guest. But enjoy your footballing week. Keep on singing and keep on winning. Goodbye.
Bye.
We're up.
Cheers.